just quickly something. That 50p piece.
This 50p
I can't
piece.
stop staring at it.
It's a 1978 50p piece. There's a guy on TikTok, Thornhill Jewelry, please put that in. He carved that. That's my non-active approach. So that's hand carved.
Good.
There's a video. I've got a video on my TikTok. So he carves things out of coins, and he's a recovering addict. And he was like, mate, I want to do something for you. He's like, tell me your date of birth. And like 1978 50p piece. It's awesome. That's
really cool.
And this one's my one day at a time.
One day at a time. Recovery.
Yeah, recovery. Yeah.
So, Paul, because of certain of our coverage, the UK authorities have put a restriction on my channel whereby if someone has had childhood trauma, I've got to ask you on camera, do you waive your anonymity?
I do, Sean.
Thank you. All right, because we're going to go back now and look at what life was like for you as a kid and where you were born and all that stuff.
Right, sweet. Yeah, so I'm a true Bristolian, born and bred Bristol, lived there up into my teens. I was brought up by my mum, who's white, and my stepdad, who was white. And my stepdad, unfortunately, he had some issues, man. Loved to drink, loved his fists, and his fists loved me, unfortunately. And up until I was like 6, 7.
When did that start?
Man, I couldn't tell you, and that is a genuine truth. All I know, by the time I was 9 years old, I'd had 26 hospital appointments, hospital visits, A&Es. So if you figure it out, that tells you it was going on bad for a very, very long time. You don't need to look like that, Sean, because you know what?
That's an innocent kid at 26 hospital visits. That's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah.
I've got used, do you know what I mean? Because I talk about it, I'm open about it. I try not to let it get me there. And, you know, so I was dragged out of my family home at the age of 9. I was put into social services, you know, they were going to save me and make sure I do amazing. They put me in a residential home where I was sexually abused for about 5 years. I never had what they used to do, and I know this now by speaking to other kids who I was in care with. They used to identify kids who come from abusive backgrounds, who had no familiar support. They had no one coming to see them like they used to do family open days. You know, they didn't give a shit, my people, so they never used to come. And sorry,
that's right.
These so there was about 5 or 6 working in the
staff.
It was the staff. It was the staff. Yeah. So it got pretty bad. The place doesn't exist anymore. So I always say this to people, you always know it's a dodgy spot when it doesn't exist. A few years after the older lot left, it got shut down, and so it's
were any of them ever held accountable?
No, I've never, not once, made an official complaint. I speak to other people about it. Like, we all know it happened. There's no people going, oh no, that didn't happen where you were. People know it happened where I was. Sean, for years I was a criminal, and the thought of going back to court for anything fills me with a dread that I cannot explain. Courtrooms, judges,
sterile atmosphere, isn't it?
I get that knot in my stomach just thinking about it, and so no, that's not for me.
How did it stop, the abuse?
I left care when I was 16. That's what it stopped. About a month before I started my GCSEs, these staff members, they would go on holiday and not come back. So I'm assuming other staff knew what was going on. You know, these people had been sort of ring-fenced and got rid of. But it went on literally until I left school. You know, I was a complete, and I was a shell of a person. And I left that residential setting. I had 2 choices: go back home to my dad, or make myself homeless. So I made myself homeless. I was living on the streets of Bristol, around Broadmead, sleeping in car parks, night shelters, you know, getting in deep to stuff that I had no concept what was going to happen.